Hey, the Sixers pick up a power forward, and it's a guy that Sixers fans fell in love with during the Olympics. We'll talk about that and more next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Hi, I'm Keith Pompey, and this is my right-hand man, John Mitchell, and we are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. We got a lot to talk about. The 76ers have agreed to sign Guerschon Yabusele. The brother played for Team France in the Olympics, was given the Sixers fits. What happens is he's taken a buyout, or he agreed to a buyout with Real Madrid. $2.5 million it cost them to get out of that contract. And guess what? He's going to sign a one-year deal with the 76ers for $2.1 million. So we'll talk about that in the first segment. The second segment, we're going to talk about Jared McCain and talk about what his summer is like and what he's up to and his goals for this upcoming season. And then the third one, we're going to touch base on the point guards as a whole. But Mitch, talk to me. What are your impressions of this free agent signee by the Sixers?
I think it's a good one, Keith. I think that that has been the gaping chasm in their lineup, the lack of a power forward, and specifically the guy who fills the physical role, who can do some things down low. Again, 6'8", 260-pound forward, a former 2016 first-round pick by the Celtics. Has spent the majority of his career percolating, I guess, over in Europe, playing European ball. But now he's a 28-year-old guy, and last time we saw him, man, he was banging on LeBron James in that gold medal game, and really played well for France, the runner-up in games against Canada, Germany, and the U.S., scoring 22, 17, and 20. So it looks like he's a guy. I mean, granted, it's the international game and it's different, but I mean, he's not bashful. He brings the physicality that you need, and most importantly, he just gives them. I mean, that's been the one thing that we've wondered about with Daryl Moore, that they, where were they going to get a power forward from with the limited amount of money they had available to him. And we talked about it last week. Give him a try. If he's there, the pickings are slim there. I mean, he's a young guy. He plays with energy, and I think he'll be a good mix, man. When they go to play small ball, he can be your small ball center, and he can run and get them down the court. So I like it, man. I think now, granted, I have no idea what he can do in the NBA. I saw what he did in the Olympics, and so we'll just have to wait and see. But I like the fact that Morris said, you know what, I'll let those guys on the Locked On Sixers podcast debate it whether they should pick him up. I'm going to go ahead and pick him up. So kudos to him for going out and getting that done. And now, the roster, we kind of know what it's going to look like. It's just, how does he add to it?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it seems like it's not going to happen, in my opinion, right? Because what I'm saying is, because it's like, okay, in a perfect world, they go get this guy. The main question, though, I do really have is, what does this mean for Marcus Morris? Does this mean that they're not going to go out and get Marcus Morris, right? Like, why not have both of them, in my opinion, right? Yeah. Why not have two power forwards on the roster? Now, the question mark is, though, if you get one of them, you're going to have to play him, right? You're going to, I mean, you're going to have to play both. You don't like want to have Marcus Morris and he just sitting on the bench. You know what I mean? While this young dude is playing. Yeah, because I mean, you know, it's just one of the things where it could be a little bit disruptive, or I'm not going to say disruptive, but it's not a good situation when you get a veteran guy who wants to play and he's not playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if he's like Keith Morris, who's kind of sort of like, you know what, I'm just going to be the team vet. But if you're Marcus, you still want to play. You've still shown that you can play. Not to
And he
say
can
you
play.
can't, but it's just a different role. But when we talk about Yabusele, here's a guy like he played 2 years with the Celtics. He played on the 2017-18 season, 2018-19 season. Over those 2 years, he averaged 2.3 points, 1.4 rebounds, and 6.6 minutes in 73 games with 5 starts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, right after that, he headed back to overseas. Now, he's been playing the past 3 years and for Real Madrid in Spain, right? But when you look at it, you know, he led them to the 2023 Euro League Championship, 2 Liga ACB titles, that's their other league, and 3 Spanish Super Cup championships, right? He averaged 9.8 points while shooting 43% from 3-point range this past season in Spain. Now, here's the thing. Like you talked about it before, but he averaged 19.6 points in France's 3 games against Canada, Germany, and Team USA in the medal round, right? So, you know, he's been balling, he's been playing really well, and I feel like, you know, he is a big pickup for the Sixers. The question that I have is, yes, you dominated overseas, you played well overseas. You did your thing in the Olympics. But the rules change a little bit in the NBA.
Yeah.
How are you going to be able to adjust? Now, I know you played there before, and those are pretty good numbers in 6 minutes because that means you ain't playing a lot, right?
Yeah.
A lot of minutes. But I just want to see if he could continue to remain as impactful like he was and you know, over in the Olympics and playing overseas. That's my question. Can he remain as impactful? If so, is a great pickup.
Yeah. So. No, yeah, and we can talk about that a little bit more if you want to after the break because I mean there was a clamoring for him among Sixers fans. But right now I want to talk to you about BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip a leg day, or maybe you never skip therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy become more important than ever. So my suggestion, if you're thinking of starting therapy, why not give BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge at all. So never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. Available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You know, Mitch, you talked about, let's talk about this guy a little bit more, and we will. The thing that I think, now I'm going to be honest with you, Mitch. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that the Sixers are going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obvious, right? I think that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the Sixers
Keith,
are going to be good.
Keith, you're a hater, man. Every time I hear somebody
Yeah, I
talk,
know. I think they're going to be good.
hater.
I am. I you know what? I'm not a hater. I guess maybe I'm just real conservative with my praises and stuff like
They're
that
gonna
because
be
I've been
good.
covering the team. I've been covering the team for too long, bro. Like, and I've seen the Ben Simmons signing, and everybody, I've seen the Markel folks, and everybody's like, You know, I've seen the Tobias Harris trade, the Jimmy Butler stuff, all that, JJ Redick, all that, and I've seen them second round exit.
Yeah.
If they're lucky to get a second round exit, right? I've seen the Doc Rivers come. I've seen all of it.
You've seen every Messiah. You've seen every Philadelphia Messiah that there has been in the last 10 years.
Yeah, man. And it's been always a who's who. Like, we're going to get this guy. We're going to get that guy. Da. So anyway, so here's the deal. I still think right now, on paper, until I see it, that I still have the 76ers ranked behind the Celtics and the Knicks.
Yeah,
But again, right? That's why I haven't. But this is what I'm thinking. Always the difference, and believe it or not, the difference maker with two healthy teams, and I think they lose a lot with losing Hartenstein with the offensive rebound. With the offensive rebounding. That's what I think they lose that. Like, because what happens is because there's a lot of like empty possessions or extra possessions they get off of teams with Sixers. But Yabusele, the key thing for him is now the 76ers finally got somebody who can help contain Julius Randle. Because in my opinion, Julius Randle, don't get me wrong, I know Jalen Brunson can score points. I know Mikal Bridges, Dee's cousin, shout out to Devon Givens, is a hell of a player, two-way player. I know that OG is a problem on the defensive end, like meaning he'll shut you down, right? I know they got a deep bench, but I feel like the 76ers got a lot of rugged guys. But the problem is I felt like they didn't have anybody physical enough, big enough to contend with Randall. If not, you have to put Embiid on them to get in a little foul trouble probably, and then that as a mismatch for other things. So with that being said, I still ranked slightly ahead of them because I got to see what it looks like on paper.
Right.
But at the same time, I do feel like that this is better roster construction for a playoff team.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think Yabusele kind of brings that because you're going to need that because, people look at Julius Randle and everybody likes to say that the Knicks were a better basketball team without him. This past season, they may have been, but I think next year that the Knicks will be better. And I think Julius Randle is going to benefit from what a lot of players do benefit from getting a chance to watch from the bench. And I think he will kind of watch and was like, hey, man, look at this version of Jalen Brunson that the New York Knicks have now. I can step back in here. I got my money right now. If I step in here and just continue to add, then I mean, it's going to, I really think, yes, we're going to root, locally, people will root for the 76ers. And, of course, would like to see the Sixers win that championship and end that 41-year drought. But man, the Atlantic Division hasn't been this top heavy I can't remember, man. I mean, even going back to the days of the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird and Julius Erving, I don't remember it being this top heavy. But having Yabusele in there does give you that body. My concern about the Knicks, because I had the 76ers ranked ahead of them. Mitchell Robinson is a poor man's from a physical standpoint and a health standpoint. He's a poor man's version of Joel Embiid, and I wish him well. I don't wish any, that he not be healthy, but he's just never healthy. He is a guy who concerns me because of, he's always getting hurt. And I think I think that the Isaiah Hardenstein loss is going to be significant for him. I mean, he's a guy who has a role, and I think he's really going to look good in Oklahoma City because he's going to be able to focus on exactly what they need, out of him. So I put the Sixers ahead of New York. And also, man, with Porzingis not being, 100%, I mean, we saw that's a team that's capable of winning a championship with Porzingis at what, 60%, 50, 60%, 70%. So, you give the champions the benefit of the doubt. Sixers have to remain healthy, but I think they could possibly overtake them.
Yeah, the whole Porzingis thing though, like everybody, like to me, if the dude doesn't come back, then maybe he doesn't come back in like say February, whatever, then I got a problem. I think that they just so good that having them back in the playoff, he gonna be fine. I mean, by the time he's supposed to be back in December, he may even play in the Christmas Day game. So December or Christmas, December, January, I kind of feel like I'm not worried about that. Like I'm just not like they got too much other things to going right for them. Like I'm not really concerned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They again, if he was out for the whole year, this and that, I'm not concerned. But look, let's talk about Jared McCain. I'm gonna be honest with you, Mitch. Like, I'm really impressed with this dude. First of all, I like his confidence. I like the fact that he has that attitude. Like, I don't care what y'all think. I'm gonna do what I'm comfortable with. And I think that I'm not the only one who feels that way about him because he has a little bit of a following. Not a little bit. He has a huge following. Yeah. But he said some great things about he said some great things about this upcoming season. And the dude's been putting in a lot of work. I'm here to tell you, man, the brother, soon when Summer League was over with, he didn't fly to Cali. He didn't fly, because that's where he's from, California. He didn't fly to Philly. Yeah. What he did is he flew to Raleigh, Durham. He flew to Durham so he could work out at Duke. From there, he came to Philly. From there, he went to a mini camp with the Rico Hines private runs at UCLA. So he knocked that out. Then next thing you know, he came back to Philly, and now he's in LA again. He's been going nonstop. So, you know what I mean? Like when we get back from this little break, what we can do is we'll talk about him and talk about the point guard position. I'm sorry, y'all, that we got a little tied up, but we wanted to talk more about what this latest acquisition did. So we'll talk about him when we get right back.
In the meantime, I want to talk to you a little bit about Gametime and making sure you get out.
Yeah. So here's the deal, Mitch. Here's the deal. So you look at McCain and you say to yourself, I mean, when we talk about it, how much burn is he going to get as a point guard? I say close to zero. I mean, it's not going to be close to, because it's going to be sometimes he's going to handle the rock. But when they got a championship aspirations,
right?
We look at it. A lot of times rookies don't play on championship aspirations, but the one thing that he does have is he's blessed with an NBA skill set.
Yeah. Even though we didn't see it.
Even though we didn't see it, but he can still dope that thing, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, that might be his best way of getting on the floor. But the thing is, I'll tell you this. He's either going to be an upset guy or he's going to learn a lot. And the reason why I'm saying it, because the brother is putting in a lot of work this offseason. Not only that, he's reaching out to a lot of people. He reached out to Pat Bev. He reached out to other dudes, asking them, like, hey, what should I do? Just give me some advice. Can you do this? Can you do that? He's doing it all. He's putting in there because he wants to contribute any way he can possible. And the reason why they say he may be an upset dude is because he's like, look, man, I'm putting in the work.
Yeah.
I can play. I can help this team. Why am not my numbers not getting called? But I do think that if he is a little disappointed, if he becomes disappointed, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that will become a problem in the locker room. It's just that he'll just work harder to prove himself. But you know what? I like what I'm hearing from him. I do. I mean, this guy, you know, they talk about it. You look at Tyrese Maxey and you see how he has evolved. You know, this guy has watched. Now get this. He didn't just watch game film of Kyle Lowry in the pros. He watched game film of Kyle Lowry at Villanova. Wow. And the reason why that's important to me is because what did Kyle Lowry go to at Villanova? He was playing with another point guard, playing off the ball, doing certain things. So that's kind of smart because when you look at Jared, he was a point guard in high school.
Right.
He goes to Duke. He comes off the ball. He realizes that on this team right now, I'm not going to have the ball in my hands. So I got to do other things to be impactful. He calls Pat Bev, like we said, talk about what do you do for the highs? What do you do for the lows? All this stuff in the league. I'm telling you, Mitch.
Yeah.
This dude is special, man. And I get it a lot. We may not see it for a couple years, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Maxey. Now, I'm not saying he's going to ascend to be like Maxey, but I'm talking about the preparation that he puts into his craft.
Yeah, I read your story on the Inquirer, and that's kind of what I took away from it. He seems like he has that sponge mentality, you know. I mean, I in reading it, you get the kind you get. He's 20 years old, but you kind of get the feeling that he's a mature 20, you know. And in spite of all the the silliness you see out of him on TikTok, when you see when you find out his itinerary after summer league and just how it's been throughout the summer, it sounds like it's all about basketball, and not just playing basketball, but the mental side of professional basketball. You know, the fact that he was watching, because like when you do look at that roster, there's not a lot of space for him to fit in. You know, now he's going to get that opportunity because the one thing we know he can do, even though we didn't see it in the summer league, is with his jump shot he can space the floor. You know, and at some point during that 82 game stretch, multiple points during that 82 game stretch, they're going to want that, and they're going to turn to him. And if he does respond, his ascension will be that much quicker. But I just like the fact that he's been all basketball. I mean, I give him a pass on his summer league performance, although it got better as it went into it. But reputations aren't built in the summertime. His reputation will be built during the regular season, and when he gets the opportunity. And they probably will be sparse if guys stay healthy. Because I mean, even the fact he played point guard in college. Paul George can bring that ball up and set things, and they can initiate the offense to him. So they have a lot of options, But we joked about Tobias sitting in the corner. If he can come out there and sit in the corner and hit corner threes every now and then, it's going to be valuable. He'll make himself valuable for the team.
Yeah, he will. He will. I mean, and the thing is, we'll look at it. I think that even just the development part of him learning, because the crazy part we also talked about, I was like, yo, like, this ain't a bad situation to be in. This isn't. And when you look at it, and here, this is the reason why I'm saying this. So you're a young point guard. You are sending out stuff to point guards who you respect. Ball handlers you respect.
Yeah.
And then you have, and we're talking about Tyrese Maxey being a nice guy. You have a nice guy, a couple of years older than you, whose hard work ethic enabled him to become an all-star.
Yep.
And one of the future faces of the league. Then you have Kyle Lowry, 38 years old, a 6-time All-Star, an Olympic gold medalist, an NBA champion, who knows the game, has a great IQ, this and that, takes young guys under his wing too. And right, you have that. You have Reggie Jackson, another champion, a scoring point guard, which Jared McCain was in high school, right? And he mastered his craft. Seems like another intellectual guy, right? So then you have okay, I got PG on the team. Although he's not a point guard, he's a scorer. And then I also have the 2023 league MVP. So it's one of those things where you look at it like he's going to learn so much from these guys, so much. And there's no pressure on him. Really, there's not. Because if he's with a lottery team or whatever, he would have to go out there and play. He can learn and he can do that. So I feel like this is a win-win for this guy. I do. Now, again, yes, you want to play, you want to be the man, you want to do all that. But think about how much he's going to learn. And then you look at OG, you look at like Fred Van Vliet when he was young with Toronto and all that. He learned from those guys, the older guys. And then now look at him. Now he's like a max type player for Houston. So, you know what I mean? I feel like this is a great situation for Jared. I really do.
Yes, it's a win-win for him. And I like his approach so far. I like his approach,
Yeah, great approach. But look, y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening. We want y'all to make this the start of a blessed week, great week. But before we go, I have one thing to tell y'all. I want to thank y'all for making Locked On 76ers your first listen today. Now check out the Locked On NBA podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to Locked On NBA in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every
day.
Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. For Mitch, I'm Keith. I want to say peace and have a blessed day. Deuces.
Peace, y'all.